Okay. Welcome, ACIP Gold Club members. I'm Connie O'Brien.
And I'm John Brady.
We're here today to teach you the first class on meditation. And our first class is all about why meditate. So we're here today to sell you on meditation, the benefits of meditation. And I'd like to start with focus, increased focus. For me, probably one of the first benefits that I ever experienced was this incredible capacity to set my mind on an object and have it stay there outside of meditation. So when many of us have interests in many different things, and when we're very interested in something, our mind stays on that subject. But if you are given a task to do that is not maybe your most interesting thing in the world, meditation helps you to be able to focus your mind on that topic when you need to focus it on that topic. Doesn't matter if there are many things going on around you. Doesn't matter what noises are happening, what smells are happening. If you learn to focus your mind in meditation, you can place that same mind on any object you wish. So it's very helpful for somebody in business. It's very helpful for teachers. It's very helpful for mothers, fathers. Everybody in the world can use meditation. And John is going to give us the next benefit of meditation.
So, thank you, Con. If you believe in meditation strongly, and you begin to see the results of your meditation, problem solving can be a wonderful benefit in the resulting of your meditation practice. And when I say that, how can you apply problem solving? Well, I was a corporate person for 21 years, and meditations and my practice have created over the years a very wonderful process of how to first see where the problem is coming from. And if we believe in this process of problem solving, and we believe that you're creating your own world, the problem isn't something that is outside of yourself. It is directly correlated to something that you've created, and therefore understanding that is a benefit to problem solve what is the obstacle to whatever is happening in your life, in business, in personal, raising your kids, any of the above. Because if we're not using our practice and applying it to our everyday life, we're missing a very big part of how ourselves, especially, are changing. We're showing in a result in a meditation practice how we've changed and how our mind has changed, and the aspect of how you can apply your practice to any day problem, because you know where it's coming from. You understand the source of the problem much more than someone who's not practicing. And that is a big, big opportunity and an advantage, because then you can work in your meditation on the actual obstacle or the problem. And they come in various packages, but generally it is always the case that you deny the fact that the way you're perceiving your reality is not your seeds ripening, but coming from the outside into you. And that's our biggest problem. That's something that we always are challenged with pretty much every day, in all parts of our lives. Okay. So I'm going to introduce the next one, which is greater harmony in the workplace. And Connie's going to talk about that.
Thank you, John. So actually, it's really greater harmony in your relationships, workplace, home, anywhere you go, any community that you find yourself in. When you take your mind down to a beautiful, silent place, it's like you can meet the person beside you with a stillness in your own mind, which allows just for what is happening for them to arise naturally. And you meet on a place where there aren't confrontations. You meet in a place where already harmony is readily available to you. So if it happens to be that my mind is in turmoil one day, and John's mind, because he's meditated very well, is lovely and silent and peaceful. John helps me calm my mind down, bring greater harmony to our relationship that way. But even on a deeper level, when I understand that things are coming from me, I understand that it's worthwhile for me to stop and take a moment if I'm perceiving there is anger, there is some tension, there is busyness, to stop for a moment and really look at where it's coming from. And when I do that, I also have the capacity to create greater harmony in my relationship with John, at work, my friends. All round, that's how I see that meditation has benefited harmony in my relationships.
Yes.
So John's going to talk about greater peace of mind, especially when you're under stress.
You're right, Con. Stress is the number one killer in the Western world. Heart attacks, disease are the actual result of a very stressful life. And we underestimate what the powers of meditation can bring to our health, number one. In meditation and in, when I say proper meditation, you're actually changing your physical being. And one of the things that we realize when we're under stress is the body stops breathing. You don't want to breathe, you're tight, and the mind is afflicted on a very deep emotional level that we may not even recognize. So how does meditation kind of antidote the process? What is the opposite of stress? In a good meditation system, you're learning more about there's something called the subtle body, which is running this body. And in good meditation systems, you're getting in touch with that. And it's deeper, it's much more calming, and less being run by your emotions or by the stories that run through our mind any given day. And with proper training in meditation, you begin to see a little bit more clearly the nature of where your expression of mind and body come from. And one of the other things that is, a big deal in meditation is we think that our time and our concept of time is fixed. Mm-hmm. And in meditation, you realize that that's just another mental construct that you created, and we all do, that it doesn't exist that way. And stress is this, you're like being confined in a time limit. And in meditation, you begin to see the nature of time being what we call empty of time. And something special can happen because then the mind expands into a way of seeing that you can do much more in a short period of time, which removes stress. Increased ability to anticipate your future is a big subject, and that's Connie's.
Yeah, so actually this leads directly from what you just said, John. When you're meditating, you're able to slow your mind down. So it's really, as we say, that everything in your world is coming from you, popping out of seeds. If you can slow that process down, you can watch that mental image coming out of a seed. It's like slowing down the frames when you're filming a video. It's usually about 24 frames per second on a video, but it's 64 in your mind. So everything seems very, very smooth when we are looking at the world, which is one of the illusions of the world coming this way, when it's actually coming this way. So I want to say that as we slow our minds down, we get to see these images that are popping out of our minds. And by seeing that, we actually have this increased capacity. It's not like we're fortune tellers. It's just that since we're creating our world, we can see it come out a little bit ahead of everybody else. So it's like we have a capacity to understand what others around us need before they even have to voice it to us. I mean, we all have a little bit of this experience in our lives, especially with those that we love. We almost can anticipate sometimes their words or what their needs are.
Or sometimes what they're thinking. It's strange.
Yeah. So in meditation, because of the fact that we're watching this come out of our mind and very, very slowly, we have the capacity to be able to see that in a huge way for the like looking at patterns for the entire world.
Yes.
So John's now going to talk about contact with a higher reality.
Wow.
Oh, wait. Well, you can, yeah. He'd like to actually talk about progress along spiritual paths first.
The other one's very juicy. Contact with higher reality. The progress along the spiritual path is, it's subtle and it's obvious. It's very interesting. It's very much of a, forget about the results of your meditation. Don't worry about them. Stop thinking about what's it going to do for me. Throw it out the window, as a matter of fact, because the process of meditation is the result that's happening that you will walk into at some point in your near future. So if reality is based on seeds, and if reality in meditation is beginning to understand what they are and how they originated, where they came from, which is also you, then you've got a formula for understanding where you can design your spiritual path and where you want yourself to go in it. So there are dozens of meditations for specific reasons, and each has a result in and of itself about understanding these higher aspects of, I would say, higher knowledge or wisdom. And, I love the idea when you have that moment in a non-meditative state to realize that you're not seeing the world as you did 3, 4, 5 months before that moment. It's fascinating to know that you've changed your mind, and your practice begins to result in subtly being aware, and not only subtly being aware that you're not this person of John or Connie, that you have shifted an awareness to a different place in your outer reality. And it's a result of your going deeper in your practice and knowing where things truly come from, but also understanding that you are a changing thing every single moment. And we begin to remove the permanent aspect of who we think we are. And when that happens, stuff gets really interesting in meditation.
Okay, thanks, John.
Okay, Rob.
All right. So
Contact with higher reality. That's pretty cool.
So I'd like to talk about contact with higher reality. So when I look around me right now, I look at the camera, I look at John, the flowers, the sun, all of that I would call something called deceptive reality. And deceptive reality is, when it pops out of a seed, it has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. It all goes like that in deceptive reality. And it also seems, why we call it deceptive, it seems like it's coming towards me. It doesn't look like I'm creating it. So deceptive reality, almost 99% of it can hurt us. But there is another reality called ultimate reality. And that reality is what we talk about when we talk about the Penn story. When we say that all the dogs have left the room, all the humans have left the room, and we ask you, what is this thing? What is this thing? And we all look like, hey, I don't know. It could be anything. It has this potential to be anything. So that's an intellectual understanding of higher reality. But what is really higher reality, when you see it in meditation, is something that is so exciting. It's actually, You have to take your mind to a platform of stillness that is not even in this realm. You take your mind to that platform of stillness, and then you actually can drop into seeing another reality, a reality that's around us all the time, 100%, but we cannot see it. That reality is something that allows this deceptive reality to be for us. So that's what we mean by the fact that we can make contact with a higher reality. And it takes two things. It takes somebody who's consistently meditating on a daily basis and for longer and longer periods of time, and somebody who has studied a lot about the pen. If you do those two things, you can make contact with higher reality.
Beautiful. Next, we'll talk about the ability to eliminate negative emotions that we basically are somewhat made of to some degree. And we were talking about this earlier, and Connie had written down the experience allows us to kill negative emotions. I said, no, it's too heavy to talk about. Let's use the word eliminate. But I like the word kill because that's what you do. And meditation isn't something, like a romantic novel. It is a challenge, and it is also something that it takes courage because you're going inward. You're actually, I always use the phrase, archaeologically digging into the mind and the heart of who you are, and that takes courage. And it also is something that is the best journey you'll ever have, because as you begin the process of meditation, you have to look at the motivated emotional negativities that generate actions in our body, speech, and mind in the world. And that connection of realizing that a negative emotion, that we all have our favorite negative emotion, whether it's jealousy or angry or malice or pride or greed. Essentially, your world is being created by those forces. And your world is created by your beautiful, positive emotions. But usually it's a combination of both. So we get results that are not satisfying most of the time. So how do we look at beginning the process of eliminating negative emotions? I had a teacher for years. He was a Zen master, and he had a very interesting, he said, when you sit and meditate on a daily basis, you're erasing the tapes of the mind. The habits that he was implying are negative. And there's not a bad meditation. No matter what you put your spin on your meditation on that given day or the judgment you put on yourself, there's never a bad meditation. If you have to sit there and breathe for 30 minutes or 15 minutes and that's your meditation, you've done your job. Because negative emotions are inherent in life, we can say lifetimes here. And so are your positive emotions. So what could be better than to take the negative emotion or the flavor that we admit that we have and begin the process of eliminating it? That is a radical way of changing your own reality in the most powerful, positive way. Because we confront it, we look at it, we accept it, and then we change it. The next is higher kinds of love.
This is a beautiful one. It's very, very inspiring. And it comes along with the experience of what I was talking about earlier, of touching the diamond world. So if you have that experience where you are going very, very deep into meditation, and you've been studying about emptiness in the pen, and you actually see it directly, what happens to those people who have been serving others really, really well, caring and loving and having a lot of compassion for them, is this experience called what we call a higher kind of love. And in that experience, because time is empty, time comes from us and pops out of our seeds, it's possible to see the faces of every single living being. I'm not talking just about humans. I'm talking about all the animals there are. I'm talking about beings across the universe. That's a huge mystical experience. I agree, it is. But it is possible. And that comes from our compassion. It comes from our service of others. When we understand where exactly things are coming from, that potential to see those beings, to know that we will spend the rest of our lives looking after them and having that intense love for them is something that comes out of the experience of touching the diamond world.
Beautiful.
And John's going to talk about realizing the interconnectedness of all human beings.
Yes, that's a long story, but we can do it in less than 4 minutes. We did a 3.5 year retreat, 3 years, 3 months, 3 days, 3 hours. And one thing that you take out of retreat with you is a heart that has been softened and an understanding and on a deeper level that we're all in this together. There's not a single human being that is not a part of you and in it together. We have to remember that death is definite and we're all kind of running around avoiding the issue. And that's just one part of the equation. But we call it bodhicitta. We call it compassion. Something opens up in your heart where the interconnectedness to every single being becomes a reality, and that it's just a reflection of you. And we have to understand that good or bad or indifferent, whatever appears to you, and people and other beings that we include, called the animal realm and so on, are your possibility and your opportunity to change your heart. Whatever package they appear to you as, that's you reflecting back at you. And it's a tremendous opportunity, which means we need to learn how to serve. We need to learn how to take care of others. We need to learn the possibility that at some point in your spiritual career, you have the capacity to take care of others, really to take care of others.
So, would like to wrap up our little talk about the benefits of meditation by drawing an analogy to what it's like for someone who's never been able to read versus what it's like for someone who can read. So if you could imagine what it's like to walk down a street and have no idea what it says on the signs, or walk into a library and have no idea what it's like, what's inside those books. That's what it's like if you don't have the tool of meditation. You can live your whole life without it, and yes, you can live a life like that, but it is a far less richer life than one where you have that capacity to meditate. When I was a lot younger, right, when I was in university, I used to teach reading and writing in the prisons. And one young gentleman that I taught, he wanted in the worst way just to simply drive a car. He'd given up on the idea that he could ever even learn to read. And when he did learn to read, he was so excited. That, to me, is what it's like when you learn to meditate. So just to review, what we talked about today was that meditation, a benefit of a meditation is that it gives you a strong ability to focus.
Improve problem solving.
Gives you greater harmony in your relationships, including the workplace.
A greater peace of mind under any stressful conditions in your life.
It gives you an increased ability to anticipate the future.
The progress that you begin to realize you're making is such a value. We need results and confirmation, and as humans, we love that.
And if we meditate really well and we meditate every day, it's possible to make contact with a higher reality.
The continual process of removing negative emotions.
And that we can reach a higher kind of love.
Understanding that we're all connected, and that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you very much, Gold Club members, for listening to John and I today.
See you again.
Yes, for our next class, and our next class, we'll talk about the idea of authentic meditation, what it means, and then how to set yourself up for success in meditation. Thank you.
Until next time, take care.